I understand this is to be a split call. Ballot 4 minutes, 2 5-minute calls. Keith Locke.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. The most inadequate parts of the budget estimates are the sections on the intelligence services, the SIS and the GCSB. For example, the GCSB budget goes up from 59 million to 70 million without any explanation whatsoever, without a breakdown into capital expenditure or projects or anything. On budget day, the Dominion Post asked me what the increase was for, and I hazarded the guess that it was for further processing for the US National Security Agency of the communications intercepted at the GCSB station at Waihopai. I said the GCSB was reputed to be hiring more speakers in Middle Eastern languages for such tasks. A GCSB spokesperson, Hugh Wolfenson, responded that, quotes, the vast majority, end quote, of the increase in this year's budget was tied to the building the GCSB's new Wellington headquarters. So as a diligent MP guarding the taxpayer's purse, I thought I would find out if this was true and what the figures actually were. On 26th of May, I lodged a written parliamentary question to the Prime Minister asking what this year's budget allocation was for the new building. The reply on 3 June was that he wouldn't tell me. Mr Key tried to hide behind the Public Finance Act, which prescribes the minimum information the GCSB needs to provide, which is basically the gross budget for the year. But as we all know, the Public Finance Act provides only the minimum requirements for government department reporting, not maximum requirements. The whole process we're involved in, including in the Select Committee estimates examination, is to get more information on departmental spending beyond that provided in the official budget documents and beyond the minimums prescribed in the Public Finance Act. All ministers comply comply with requests for extra expenditure detail, except the minister in charge of the GCSB, the Prime Minister. John Key says that it is, quote, established practice, end quote, not to say how much money is being spent on anything, and that, of course, isn't an adequate reason. Everyone recognises that the GCSB, along with the SIS, has to be a little bit more secretive in these matters than other government departments. But the GCSB still has to have a good reason not to disclose particular information where there is absolutely no security concern. And clearly, the expenditure this year on the GCSB's headquarters is not in any way a matter of security concern and should be disclosed. Acting for the taxpayer, I will continue to push for such disclosure. As we have seen recently, including in the latest stuff over ministers' spending, transparency and openness is a good thing. Of course, the transparency in GCSB spending will be less than for other departments, but zero transparency is not acceptable and a recipe for inappropriate and excessive spending. Mistakes are made even when there is a fair amount of transparency, as was the case a year or two back when the Defence Force purchased 105 light armoured vehicles at the cost of around $700 million, and they haven't been used in Timor-Leste and the Solomons. They haven't been used by our PRT in Afghanistan because they're not particularly useful for peacekeeping duties. They're too tank-like and closed in to appeal to the population among whom our troops are doing peacekeeping work. The only labs that have been used are 3 that have been sent to Kabul to help the SAS contingent, but of course this is an operation that is not supported by a majority of New Zealanders. Last month the Dominion Post reported that 70% of Kiwis favour either a full or partial withdrawal of our SAS forces from Afghanistan. And the British and Polish governments, 2 of the main contributors of forces to Afghanistan outside of the US forces, are making plans to get out over the next year. The war SAS has been involved in is a pretty pointless war, which has unfortunately only strengthened the extremist Taliban rather than weakening it. There has been some good capital spending in defence on a multi-role vessel and 6 new patrol boats, which are already providing useful work around...
Sorry to interrupt the honourable member. His time has expired.
Thank you.
Sue Kedgley.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Well, before the budget